I never thought I would die like this. Frozen, bloody, and terrified in a remote Alaskan village with no hope of rescue. But that's what fate had in store for me and the other survivors of the blizzard that trapped us here. It all started when our plane crashed on our way to Anchorage. We were a group of researchers from the University of Washington, studying the effects of climate change on the Arctic wildlife. There were 6 of us. Me, Jake, Sarah, Mike, Lisa, and Professor Carter. We managed to survive the crash with only minor injuries, but we soon realized that we were in trouble. The plane was wrecked beyond repair, and we had no way of contacting anyone for help. The nearest town was miles away, and we had no idea where we were exactly. We decided to stay put and wait for someone to find us. We had enough food and water for a few days, and we hoped that the weather would clear up soon. But it didn't. Instead, it got worse. A massive snowstorm hit us, covering everything in a thick blanket of white. The wind was howling like a banshee, and the temperature dropped below 0. We huddled inside the plane, trying to keep warm and calm. But then we heard it. A low growl from outside, followed by a loud thud on the metal hull. Something was out there, something big and hungry. We grabbed whatever weapons we could find. A fire extinguisher, a flare gun. A fire extinguisher, a flare gun, a pocket knife. We waited for the thing to show itself, but it didn't. It just kept circling around the plane, making noises that chilled our bones. We didn't know what it was, but we had a few guesses. A bear, a wolf, a Wendigo. Whatever it was, it wanted us for dinner, and we weren't going to let it have us. We decided to make a run for it. We figured that there had to be some shelter nearby, maybe a cabin or a lodge. We packed our bags with whatever essentials we could carry and prepared to face the storm and the beast. We opened the door and ran out into the snow. The wind was blinding us, and we could barely see anything. We followed Professor Carter, who had a compass and a map. He said he knew where we were going, but I wasn't so sure. We ran as fast as we could, hoping to outrun the thing that was stalking us. But we couldn't. It was faster than us, and smarter too. It attacked us from behind, catching us off guard. It grabbed Mike by the leg and dragged him into the darkness. We heard his screams fade away as he was torn apart. We didn't stop to help him. We couldn't. We just kept running, hoping to find someplace safe. But we didn't. We stumbled upon a small village after an hour of running. It looked abandoned, with no signs of life or activity. The houses were boarded up and covered in snow. The only thing that stood out was a church with a cross on top. We thought we had found salvation. We were wrong. We entered the church, hoping to find warmth and shelter. But inside, it was as cold and abandoned as the rest of the village. There were a few pews covered in dust and a stone altar, but nothing else. No heat, no power, no help. We realized with dawning horror that we were trapped. The creature outside knew this area well and was probably waiting for us. We barricaded the doors and windows as best as we could. Jake and Sarah started a fire in the middle of the church using wood from the pews, while Lisa and I searched the back rooms for anything useful. We found some blankets, candles, and canned food in a storage closet. It wasn't much, but it would have to do. We huddled around the fire, frightened and freezing. The storm raged on outside as the sun began to set. Darkness descended, and an eerie silence filled the air. The howling winds and the growls of the beast had stopped. We knew it was still out there watching and waiting. Professor Carter, who had been silent all this time, spoke up. "There's something not right about this place. I've studied villages like this before. The way it's abandoned, it's almost like the people just disappeared overnight. I think something terrible happened here." Just then, we heard a loud bang coming from the front doors of the church. The creature was trying to get in. We heard glass shattering as it broke through the windows. It let out an unearthly roar that shook the walls. Sarah screamed. We readied our makeshift weapons, preparing to face the beast. But then everything went silent again. Minutes passed like hours as we sat there, too afraid to even breathe. Then we heard a soft, scratching sound coming from the floorboards above the altar. Something was in the attic, slowly making its way down. A trapdoor opened, and a creature emerged. It was hideous, about the size of a human but hunched over, with gray skin, long claws, and a head like a wolf. It fixed its icy gaze on us and grinned, revealing a mouthful of razor-sharp fangs. My heart nearly stopped. This was no ordinary predator. It was something evil, something inhuman. The creature crept down the ladder and stood before us. We pointed our weapons at it, hands trembling. But they would be no use against this monster. It spoke then, in a raspy voice like dead leaves blowing in the wind. "Foolish travelers, you should not have come here. Now you will never leave. This village belongs to the Wendigo, and so do you." It let out a bone-chilling howl as more creatures emerged from the walls and shadows surrounding us. We were hopelessly outnumbered. The Wendigos closed in. Their pale eyes glowing with hunger and bloodlust. I gripped my pocket knife tightly, preparing to go down fighting. I would not die like Mike, torn apart without a fight. I caught Jake's eyes, and we shared a look of grim determination. If this was the end, we would make sure the Wendigos remembered us. The creatures attacked. The church was filled with roars and screams as a desperate struggle ensued. I slashed and stabbed at anything I could, feeling my knife sink into cold flesh. But for every Wendigo I injured, 2 more took its place. Jake fought like a man possessed, wielding a flaming log as a club. Professor Cater was shouting prayers and hurling vials of holy water at the beasts. But they just laughed at his attempts, brushing them off like insects. The Wendigos were too strong, too fast, too many. One by one, my friends were overpowered and dragged away into the darkness, their dying screams echoing in my ears. I was the only one left. A towering Wendigo seized me in its claws, lifting me off the ground. I stared into its sinister eyes as it opened its jaws to finish me off. This was the end. I had faced death before in my life, but never like this. Not at the hands of monsters in a forsaken place from which there would be no escape, no rescue. As the Wendigo went in for the kill, I closed my eyes and thought of my family, hoping that they would be spared this awful fate. I felt its hot breath on my face as its fangs inched closer. Suddenly, a loud bang rang out that shook the walls of the church. The Wendigo shrieked and dropped me. I opened my eyes to see a hole. For just $3 a month, you can have your name featured in my YouTube videos and descriptions. Not only will you be supporting my channel, but you'll also be immortalized in the credits of my content. If you're looking for something a bit more personalized, consider becoming a $25 a month patron. I'll voice your stories and bring them to life on my channel. Create a special drawing just for you, or even write a unique story tailored to your interests. So don't hesitate. Join my patron community today and help me keep the spooky stories coming. And remember, together we can save each other from the YouTube algorithm. Thank you for your support.